Hare Krishna. So welcome everyone. Let us begin our class. Bhagavatam review with our prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshuru Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Padamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namaha Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharani Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarani Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. We are discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto. And last time we discussed the 8th chapter entitled Questions by Maharaj Parikshit. So we are discussing the section where there's a conversation going on between Narad Muni and Brahmaji. So Narad Muni asks, I think you are the Supreme Lord because you are creating everything and you are maintaining, you don't depend on anyone else. You are like a spider. Purna Nabhi. So then Brahmaji clarifies, no, it is not the case. I am just recreating what is already been created by the Lord. And then he describes the process of creation, Purushavatar Katha, and then he described, okay, I have described you about Purushavatar, but I'll tell you something which I like to hear and discuss. And he describes the Leela avatars. So the 7th chapter describes the Leela avatars, list of incarnations of the Lord. And then after that, Brahmaji, he told, okay, now you please go and preach this message. Tvametad vipuli kuru. So naturally, Parikshit Maharaj asked, okay, please tell me the preaching exploits of Narad Muni. And he encouraged and glorified Shukdeva Goswami. And then he asked series of questions. The 8th chapter was describing the questions of Parikshit Maharaj. So many questions he asks. So that is what we discussed. And then Shukdeva Goswami, he may say, okay, you have asked so many questions. Just get some food so that you don't feel hungry. So he described, he spoke this wonderful verse. Name asavah parayanti brahman anashanadami pibato achyuta piyusham tadvakyabdi vinisritam. I'm not hungry and thirsty because I'm drinking the nectar from your lotus mouth. So that's what we discussed. So now we'll begin today the 9th chapter. We'll be able to complete half of it because it's a huge chapter. Describing so many concepts. Prabhupada writes lots of things in the purport. So in this 9th chapter, the first and second question of Parikshit Maharaj will be answered. So Parikshit Maharaj had asked in the 8th chapter, what is the relationship between the jiva and the body? Because jiva is spiritual and the body is material. So what's the relationship? So please tell me that. So now Shukdeva Goswami answers, actually there is no relationship. Jiva, he feels connection with the body only due to Maya. So we'll recite this verse. Shri Shuka Uvacha Atma Mayamrite Rajan Parasyanu Bhavatmanaha Na Ghatetartha Sambandhaha Swapna Drashtur. So the relationship between the jiva and the body, artha sambandha, it does not happen. Na ghatet, it does not happen. There is no relationship between the body which is material, and the Jiva, who is spiritual, only because of Maya, Atma Maya, because of the material energy, we think that this body is mine. Although, because Jiva is superior to matter, spirit soul is superior to matter, Parasya, he is full of knowledge, but still he identifies himself with the body just like a person who is dreaming. In a dream, one sees a mountain and he has seen, in the real life, a person has seen a mountain and gold. So in the dream, what happens? He sees a golden mountain. So he tries to combine whatever experiences he has in this material world. So of material nature energy, it is so very real. So if somebody says that, okay, if this is illusory, then why take it so seriously? Because Brahmaji is himself saying, Shut trit dhatu birimam urardhyamana shitoshna vata varshai tare taracha kamagina sakalayon shudahyamana sampashyato mana urukramasidate me. So Brahmaji is telling, I am so very disturbed, I am so very sad. Sampashyato mana urukramasidate me. My mind is very, morose. Why? Because I have created bodies which will give thorough trouble from inside and outside. Inside, hunger, thirst, cough, vata, pitta, always disturbed. Outside, they will experience heat, cold, sheet, ushna, vata, varsha. And then not only that, subtle level, they are disturbed by lust. So if this pain is all illusory, then why Brahmaji is so very troubled about it? The misery which one experiences and dream, they are actually insignificant. Till the time one doesn't wake up from the dream, it is very significant. The person who is dreaming and the dream he is being chased by a tiger, he is sweating in the dream. And if you have experienced some nightmare, some people they even the dreams. For them, it is real. So this material nature, Maya Devi has created such a wonderful illusion. She doesn't allow us to wake up. She tells to keep sleeping and keep dreaming and keep suffering. Although this dream is illusion, but it is a very, very powerful dream. Therefore, Maya Devi doesn't allow the living entities to get up. So that's why living entity, we start identifying with the body. And that's what Srila Prabhupada he explains in the purport that in the first canto also it is described when Vyasadeva he was absorbed in meditation after he was instructed by Narad Muni. He saw material energy and he saw Krishna. Bhakti yoga manasi samyak pranihite amale apashyat purusham mayam jagat apashrayam. He saw Krishna and he saw Maya Devi standing behind him. So Maya Devi, she doesn't come in front of Krishna because she feels ashamed. Vilajyamanaya yasya. She feels ashamed that I am doing a duty, a service, and my duty is to take living entities away from Krishna. Therefore, she doesn't come in front of Krishna. Yaya sammohito jivo, and that's how a living entity gets completely illusioned and bewildered. Maitreya Muni, he describes in the third canto, it is like a person who is seeing his own head being cut off. Is it possible? If the head is cut off, how can one see? But it is possible in the dream. Yeah. So that is how this dream condition is so very real. That is a condition of material, that is a condition of living entities in this material world. Because they want to enjoy, they identify with the body, and that's why they suffer. It's a common experience if something is belonging to us. If somebody buys a new smartphone, iPhone, and then day one he's walking by and then phone falls on the ground and breaks. Nothing happened to him, but still he suffers. Same thing happens to the neighbor. So because it was not related to him. So people in the world, when they start identifying this is me and this is mine, that's why they suffer. Sukhaya karmani karoti loko natai sukham vanya duparamamba vindeta bhuyah tat eva dukkham yadatra uttam bhagavan vadennaha. So therefore, Guru is telling to Maitreya, people in the world, they work so very hard to get happiness, but they get only pain. नाता ही सुख हम सुख मिलता नहीं है और दुख ही दुख मिलता है. So therefore, please tell me how one can come out of this. So that is the answer which Shukadeva Goswami is giving to Parikshit Maharaj's questions. There is no relationship which happens. So the jiva suffers because he has this conception of aham and mamiti, I and mine. And because of these conceptions, living entities, they keep taking birth in various species of life. Sometimes in the higher species, sometimes in the lower species. And Prabhupada in these purports very elaborately describes the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. So we cannot discuss the entire purports, but it is very, very wonderful if we can read these purports. Purushah prakriti sthohi bhungte prakriti jan gunan karanam guna sango asya sad asad yoni janmasu. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Living entities, Purushaha, because they identify with the material world, that's why sometimes they take birth in the higher species of life, sometimes in the lower species of life. And the cause of entanglement is ego. This is me and this is mine. That is what binds a person in this material world. And then the questions we can take at the end of the class. Okay. The work of Maya Devi is to test our desires. So there are two types of living entities who want to enjoy separately from Krishna and those who want to come close to Krishna. So those who are having the mentality of enjoyment, separatist mentality, that's what third canto describes, separatist mentality. Anything which is apart and away from Krishna. So living in the material energy facilitates those desires. Okay, you want to enjoy? Facilitate. And if a devotee wants to come close to Krishna, she tests the devotee's desires. How eager he is or she is to come close to Krishna. So that's the job of Maya Devi, to test and to facilitate. So that's why she is doing this selfless service. Sorry. Maya is because we wanted to enjoy separately from Krishna. That is the basic understanding of Maya. That which is not. This material world is not made for our enjoyment. It is made for Krishna's enjoyment. And what is the enjoyment of Krishna? To understand, to bring the living entities back to the spiritual world. That's what makes Krishna happy. So Krishna has made this world in such a way that we can understand, we can rectify our desires and come close to him. And that is the goal given to Maya Devi. He is like a jailer. Durga. Durga means the jailer of this Durga. Durga is fort and the jailer is Durga. Jailer has some whip or some stick. So Durga Devi has trident. And with that trident, she keeps giving miseries, Adhi Bhautika, Adhi Atimka, Adhi Daivika. That is her job. She is given this position and role so that we can rectify our mentality and come close to Krishna. So the first two verses, Shukadeva Goswami, he gives the problem. Okay, the problem is you want to enjoy in this world. What is the solution? So now in the third verse, he gives the solution. So we'll recite this verse. Yarhi vava mahim nisve parasmin kala mayayoh ramet kata sammoha yakto daste tadobhayam. As soon as Yarhi, as soon as the living entity is situated again in his constitutional position, Mahimni Sway. Mahimni Sway is a very important word in this. When a living entity understands that I am not this body, I am soul, I am part and parcel of Krishna. Jivera Swarup Hoy, Krishnera Nityadas. That is the Mahimni Sway. That is the constitutional position. And he begins to enjoy in the transcendence. Parasmin Kala Mayayoh Rameta. Rameta means he enjoys. So when the living entity stops enjoying the material world and starts enjoying the spiritual happiness, then he gives up these conceptions of I and mine. And that is the way to come out of this dream of material world. So Prabhupada describes in detail how this material, this jiva, actually is meant for enjoyment, right? Anandamayo abhyasa. But when we try to enjoy on material level, we suffer. Because Bhagavad Gita says, whenever we try to enjoy, every enjoyment is pregnant with misery. Ehi samsparshaja bhoga, dukkha yonaya evate. The misery has to come. But in the material consciousness, a living entity cannot understand this. So lower consciousness is, I am this body. Still lower consciousness is, I want to be alone. Therefore, Prabhupada writes, how can a living entity claim himself to be supreme when he cannot even control his own system? And there are so many stories. One person came to Prabhupada and said, Swamiji, I am God.
Thank you.
Sit down, And then he says, can you control your bowel movements? And actually, after discussing and arguing for some time, said, Swamiji, just give me some time. He says, no, sit. So his Prabhupada said, no, Swamiji, this is urgent. You are God, control your movements. So therefore, Prabhupada would say that people, they claim that they are God, but they cannot control even their own nature. But if somebody surrenders to Krishna, then they can come out of the control of material nature. Daivi hi esha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya. But mameva ye prapadyante maya vetam tarantiti. Prabhupada gives an example that a poor man who has no employment and he's suffering, as soon as he gets a government job, government takes care of him. Similarly, a living entity in this world is suffering so much. As soon as he comes under the control of the supreme government, sway mahimni sway. This is the real glory of the soul, to get established in the constitutional position. So every person or every object is supposed to do some particular activities. Just like this mobile is there. If this table is shaking, we cannot tell our mobile table stable. That may do the job, but it is not supposed to be used like that. So the soul, living entity, they are supposed to serve Krishna. And if we are not using that mentality in serving Krishna and we are trying to enjoy, then we will suffer. And Bhagavatam describes in great detail that such living entities, they are like street dogs, not pet dogs. Especially in the Western world, pet dogs are like very good pets, good animals. One person came to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, Swamiji, what is the problem in becoming dog? Because Prabhupada was saying, if you don't take advantage of this life, human form, you will become a dog. So this person asked, Swamiji, what is the problem? Prabhupada said, okay, you have my blessings, you become a dog. So all the devotees were thinking, pure devotees giving blessings. Next life may. So therefore, Bhagavatam describes street dog. Shutparito yatha dinam sarameyam griham griham charana vinnanti yadinam dandam odanam evava. Shutparito, a person, a dog who is troubled by hunger and thirst. He keeps wandering from one home to another home, asking for food. Sometimes he gets some nice food to eat, somewhere he is beaten. Dandam and Odanam. That is how a living entity is. Sometimes he gets good body, sometimes he gets abominable life. But only by taking shelter of Krishna, Mahimni Sway, then he will be established in his real glory. And therefore, Prabhupada describes in great detail only by the practice of devotional service one can come out of this misconception. And again, Prabhupada describes we should hear from authorized source. And Prabhupada gives an example many times. He quotes one verse. If we hear a Bhagavad Katha from a professional reciter, he compares it with something. Anybody knows? If a person is hearing Bhagavad Katha only from a person who is a professional reciter, he is not a devotee. Sorry? Yeah, so he compares it with something. You know, hearing from professional reciters, it is like drinking milk which is touched by a serpent. Vaishnav mukhodgirnam putam harikathamritam shravanam naiva kartavyam sarpochishta yathapayah. It is like a milk which is touched by serpent. Although it is pure harikatha. Somebody might be speaking pure harikatha. And sometimes devotees have a problem. Kya Prabhuji? Why we are so strict? किसी से सुन सकते हैं ना शुद्ध हरि कथा ही बोल रहे हैं. You can increase the I think temperature थोड़ा बड़ा 27-28 कर दीजिए. So it is very important to hear from right sources. That will dispel the conception of material energies. So Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita should be heard from bona fide sources, and that's what Prabhupada writes. And then Parikshit Maharaj, he had asked so many questions. So first question was answered. Now the next question Parikshit Maharaj asked was the difference between the body of the Lord and the body of Jiva. Because Lord also sleeps, we also sleep. Lord also, procreates, we also procreate. So what's the difference? So now, Brahmaji, Shukdev Goswami is answering this question by quoting a conversation which happened between Brahma and the Supreme Lord himself. So Shukdev Goswami says, Brahmaji, he is a famous person, famous example who performed bhakti and he came out of that illusion. So he tells this verse, Atma Tattva Vishuddhyartham Yadaha Bhagavan Ritam Brahmane Darshayan Rupam Avyalika Vritadritaha Atma Tattva Vishuddhi Artham. So Brahmaji, he performed penance. Why? Atma Tattva Vishuddhi, to purify his existence. And therefore, Bhagavan, Supreme Lord, he was very pleased by the austerities of Brahmaji. So he, Bhagavan Aha means he spoke. Supreme Lord, he spoke the 4 essential verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Chatushloki Bhagavatam. It will come in this chapter. So he presented this Chatushloki Bhagavatam and he showed Brahmaji his own eternal abode. Why? Because Avyalika, Lord is pleased by simple, non-pretentious devotion. If we are making a show of devotion, we can impress people, but we cannot impress the Lord. Because Lord is there in everyone's heart. He knows all the desires. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also Patita Pavan, not Kapata Pavan. So we have to be non-deceptive in our practice of devotional service. So Atma Tattva means the Tattva of Atma and Paramatma. So Shukdev Goswami, he says that unless one purifies himself of these misconceptions, one cannot take darshan of the Lord. So Brahmaji, he performed such wonderful practice of devotion. That's why Lord revealed himself. And so then he described what happened at the beginning of the creation. So Brahmaji, when he appeared on the lotus flower, which was coming from the navel of the Supreme Lord, he wanted to understand and trace out, okay, from where is this lotus coming? And he was not able to understand. He understood that I have to do some creation, but he did not know how to do the creation. Karna kaise? So he was completely confused. So therefore, he was thinking, how should I render this service? So Prabhupada writes, this verse 295. This verse is a prelude for explaining the transcendental nature of the form and abode of the Lord. That was the question Parikshit Maharaj asked. What is the difference between the form of the Supreme Lord and form of the living entities? So Shukdev Goswami is now beginning the story. Brahmaji, he wanted to create, he was not able to understand. He could not find out the process of creation, and he was thinking what to do now. So Prabhupada writes again an elaborate purport to it. He says, unless one gets the mercy of the Lord, one cannot understand the Lord. We cannot understand the Lord by our intelligence. Athapite deva padambujadvaya prasadaleshanugrihita evahi janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno na chanya ekopi chiram vichinvan. Unless one receives the mercy of the Lord, prasada, prasada means mercy. Prasada, some people say prasad means Prabhu ke sakshat darshan. पर दर्शन नहीं लिया चलेगा, किचन में पहले उतरना चाहिए. That is the direct darshan of the Lord. So unless one gets the mercy of the Lord, prasad lesha anugrihit evrihi, he can understand. Janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno. Otherwise, if we practice for many, many lifetimes, nacha anya ekopi chiram, we will not see Krishna. So therefore, all these verses in this section describes the importance of Bhakti Yoga. The first created being, the most intelligent personality of this creation, he rendered Bhakti Yoga. He did not render Dhyana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga or Karma Yoga. This universe began with Brahmaji performing Bhakti Yoga. So that is the most important thing. And therefore Prabhupada writes that unless one is raised by the Lord, he cannot understand. So then Brahmaji heard 16th syllable, 16th and the 21st syllable of the Sparsha alphabets. Now, those of you who know Ka, Kha, Ga, Gha, generally people they know ABCD, but Hindi में पूछेंगे तो बहुत कम लोग ही बता पाएंगे. Ka, Kha, Ga से लेके Anga tak. So there's something called Sparsha alphabets. When you speak those alphabets, your tongue touches the palate. That's called Sparsha. Ta and Pa. So sorry, Sparsh means your lips, they touch. So 16th is Ta and 21st is Pa. So he heard two letters, Ta, Pa, Ta, Pa, two times. In a very wonderful way, Shukdev Goswami says, this is the wealth of the renounced order. Tapasya. So naturally, if this is coming, so Prabhupada will focus on what? Tapasya. So whole purport describes the purpose of human form of life is tapasya. Mahaprabhu Bhakta Gane Vairagya Pradhan. Tapasya, renunciation. That's what Rishabdev tells. Nayam deho deha bhajam niloke kashtan kaman rati vitpujam ye. Tapo divyam putrakayena sattvam shuddhe yasmat brahma saukhyam tunantam. Tapo divyam tapasya. Well, that's a very brilliant line. By tapasya, only one can get the profit of human life, not by the polished civilization of animal life. So if we want to become successful in our human form, tapasya is must. To practice devotional service requires lots of tapasya. To continue to render devotional service of our chanting, hearing, association, it requires tapasya. Otherwise, happiness is there available everywhere. All the species of life, they enjoy. But we should not endeavor for happiness. It comes automatically. Just like we don't endeavor for pain. Anybody thinks dukh nahi aaya bahut din se. Thoda dukh chahiye jeevan. still it comes. Similarly, happiness will come. Tasya tat prayaso na kartavyo yatha ayu vayaparam na tatha vindate shemam mukunda charanam. Don't endeavor for happiness. Endeavor for that which is not available in this world. That is the lotus feet of Lord Mukunda. So therefore, Prabhupada writes that Brahmaji he heard, Upashrinoti he heard, Ta pa ta pa. So this is very, very important. And Brahmaji tells that Shukdev Goswami, Srila Prabhupada writes that Brahmaji was initiated into the 18-letter Krishna mantra. Actually, he was given Gopal Gayatri by Krishna. So that's what one of the acharyas tell. So when he heard this tapa, naturally, anybody if he hears a sound, on will right. So he tried to find out, okay, who is the speaker? He was not able to find anyone. But he made up his mind to follow the instructions. That was the faith of Brahmaji. Although he could not see who is speaking, but still he accepted, okay, I have to follow. So Brahmaji was initiated. And the first duty of a disciple is to follow the instructions with all determination. Like Narad Muni, we have heard it is there in the first canto. Narad Muni, when he was a small child, last birth, he was completely attached and dedicated in serving these Bhaktivedantists. Tasyaiv me anuraktasya prashritasya hatainashah shraddadhanasya dantasya balasya anucharasya cha. 6 qualities Narad Muni had. Anurakta. He says, I was attached to the devotees. This is very important. To be attached to the devotees. Prashritasya, I was obedient. Hatainashah, I was sinless. Shraddadhanasya, I was faithful. I was dantasya, sense controlled, and I was a sincere follower. Anucharasya. So therefore, to practice devotional service means to be ready to follow the instructions of the authorities of the spiritual master. And it is not so easy to follow the authorities, to follow spiritual master's instructions. So Prabhupada is writing that Brahmaji was determined. And Prabhupada writes, one should not, however, think himself on the level of Brahma to be initiated directly by the Lord from inside. Some people say, जब अंदर से भगवान बुलाएंगे तब मंदिर आएंगे. Prabhupada is writing, one should not think himself to be like Brahma. जब भगवान अंदर से बुलाएंगे तभी आऊंगा. No, you should hear from the bona fide representatives of Krishna. And in this way, Brahmaji he underwent austerities for 1,000 celestial years with his controlled mind, controlled senses, and Shukdev Goswami says this is a great lesson for all the living entities. How to perform penance, controlled mind and controlled senses. And Prabhupada in the purport, he focuses on the importance of disciplic succession. You cannot receive knowledge unless you are connected to a parampara. It requires a bona fide disciplic succession. It requires a series of personalities connected to the Supreme Lord to deliver one person. Behind delivering every living entity, so many personalities are involved, all the way up to Krishna. Kasmai yena vibhashitoyam atulo jnana pradipa pura tadarupena chanaradaya munaya krishnaya tadrupina yogendraya tadatmanata bhagavad rataya karunyata tashrinvan supathan vicharan paro bhaktya vimuchye naraha. So this verse comes in the 12th canto of Bhagavatam describing the glories of parampara. Anyone in the parampara, if he is speaking, it is Krishna who is speaking. And one time Srila Prabhupada was talking with the reporters. And one of the reporters, he asked, Swamiji, how did you write these books? So Prabhupada said, when I sit, Krishna personally comes and speaks, and I just take the dictation. So this reporter was a little bewildered. So now the disciples he wanted to make it more simple. He said, no, what Swamiji is saying, Krishna inspires him and then he writes. Prabhupada said, no, it is not the case. I am telling that Krishna is personally speaking to me and I am taking dictation. So, Kasmai Yena Vibhashito. When Brahmaji is speaking to Narad Muni, it is Krishna who is speaking. When Narad Muni is speaking to Vyasdev, it is Krishna who is speaking. When Vyasdev is speaking to Shudev Goswami, it is Krishna who is speaking. When Shudev Goswami is speaking to Parikshit Maharaj, it is Krishna who is speaking. So Prabhupada writes, that is the parampara. And Prabhupada writes, the secret of success is to receive the sound from the right source. Mundane sound has no potency. And if you hear from a person who is a professional reciter, still you will not get the benefit. So that is what it is described, that we have so many desires to enjoy. Our desires, they are like ripples in the river. But when the river enters the ocean, the tides of the ocean are so powerful that the ripples of river, they disappear. Our desires, they are like ripples of river. And when we take shelter of the spiritual master's instructions, they are like the tides in the ocean. And all the desires for material sense gratification, they are destroyed. So after Brahmaji did tapasya for 1,000 celestial years, Lord was very pleased. And he appeared, he showed him his own abode, Mahavaikuntha. He showed him Vaikuntha-vasis. He described what is this spiritual world all about. And then Shukdev Goswami describes the glories of Vaikuntha. There is no influence of time. There is no influence of the material modes. One time Srila Prabhupada was trying to describe that everything in the spiritual world is sentient, conscious, So it is very difficult to understand, right? How table is also conscious and everything is conscious. So Prabhupada, he was trying to explain, and he gave an example, just like, when Radharani is cooking rice for Krishna, she would ask the rice, okay, are you ready? So rice would say, no, 2 minutes more. So that's what Prabhupada would give examples sometimes. One time Radhana Swami Maharaj was giving a class and somebody asked, Maharaj, what happens to that rasgulla when Krishna eats it? So Maharaj said, that rasgulla touches each and every part of mouth, Krishna's mouth, gives him all the pleasure and jumps out. So all these things are bewildering and we cannot understand. Therefore, there is no influence of time in the spiritual world. No passion, no ignorance, no goodness. No passion means no creation. No ignorance means no destruction. And no goodness means no maintenance. So spiritual world, there is no need of maintenance. There is no need of, creation. It is all eternal. So the Lord is also eternal. Spiritual world is also eternal. Nata asmate nath sadangri pankajam virincha vairincha surendra vanditam parayanam shemami hechatam paraha na yatra kalaha prabhavet prabhu. So Dwarkavasis, they are glorifying Krishna. They are telling, oh my Lord, you are our Father. We offer our obeisances unto your lotus feet. There is no influence of time on you. Nayatra kala prabhavet. Kal ka prabhav nahi hai aap pe. That is the Supreme Personality. That is the spiritual world. Third kind also describes in detail about the spiritual world. Another section will come. And Prabhupada again in the purport describes in detail about what is a spiritual world, what is a material world. It is 3 pad and 1 pad. 3 pad means 3 parts and 1 part. So if you consider a sphere, 3 parts of that sphere is the spiritual world and only 1 part is the material world. Since one cannot understand the spiritual world by one's intelligence. And Prabhupada gives an example many times of a frog. Dr. Frog, Prabhupada would tell the story of frog. So therefore, if you want to understand the spiritual world, we have to take shelter of the scriptures. And then Brahmaji, he sees the inhabitants of Vaikuntha. How do they look like? Shamavadataha Shatapatra Lochana. Vishangavastra Surucha Shupesha Sasa Sarve Chaturba Hava Unmishanmani Praveka Nishka Bharana Suvarchasaha Pravala Vaidurya Mrinala Varchasaha Pare Spurat Kundala Maulhaninaha. So the inhabitants of Vaikuntha, they are having the same complexion as Krishna, Vishnu. Shyamavadataha, blackish complexion, sky blue. And Shatapatra Lochana, like lotus, they have eyes like lotus petals. They are wearing a yellow color garment, very attractive. They all have 4 hands, nicely decorated with necklaces. Their necks are decorated with necklaces. Their complexion is like a diamond. That is the beauty which Brahmaji is saying. And then every Vaikunthavasi has a personal chartered plane. So everyone has a private aircraft flight, and they don't have to wait in line. Chalo, abhi flight lena hai. No. And in those flights, in those planes, they travel with their beautiful wives, who are also dressed beautifully. And third canto also describes Vaimani Kasalalana Charitani Shashvat Gayanti Yatra Shamalam Shapanani Bharatu. They are flying in the planes with their wives, but they don't get disturbed by lust. Most beautiful wives, and they are also very young, effulgent body, but they are not disturbed by lust. And then he sees Mother Lakshmi engaged in serving the lotus feet of the Lord. And then is the beautiful darshan of the Lord. The darsha tatra khilasatvatam patim Shriyapatim Yagyapatim Jagatpatim Sunandananda Prabalarhanadibihi Parshadagrai Parisevitam Vibhum. He saw the beautiful Lord, the darshan he saw. Satvatam Pati, the Lord of all the devotees, who is the husband of Goddess of Fortune, Shriyapati. Yagyapati, he is the Lord of all the sacrifices and the Lord of the universe. And he was surrounded by all his servitors, Nanda, Sunanda, Prabala, Arahana. And that's the beauty which he's seen. He has a beautiful smiling face, lotus-like eyes, Prasanna Hasarunalochananam, having a helmet decorated with bracelets, all these things he's seen. And then he sees that Lord, he was surrounded by various energies. So many energies are ready to serve the Lord. God never comes alone. You'll never see a picture of Krishna alone. Either one peacock will be there, or parrot will be there, or deer will be there. You'll never see Krishna alone, or cow will be there. So Lord is never alone. Just like a president or prime minister comes, he never comes alone, walking by. You'll never see like that. Similarly, you will never see Krishna or the Supreme Lord alone. He is always surrounded by his energies. So 4, 16, 5 and 6, these are the various things he tells. We'll not go into the detail. And when Brahmaji, he sees this, and Prabhupada writes in the purport, how can somebody say that living entity by penance and by tapasya, he can become supreme? It's Mayavad. It is so very deeply rooted in everyone. One time, Ravindra Swarup Prabhu, he was telling that he was a temple president of Philadelphia, and some Mayavadis, they started doing the propaganda. So they had put a poster, and the poster was telling, Buddha meditated and he became enlightened divine. Jesus meditated and he became sacrifice divine. Krishna meditated, he became love divine. You meditate and you will also become the supreme divine. That was the poster. So devotees, they thought, so Ravindra Swarup Prabhu went, and it was a 2 hours lecture. And After the class, Ravindra Swarup Prabhu, he asked a question. When did Krishna meditate when he was 7 days old when he killed Putna? So Mayavadi, this person was speaking with a very difficult expression in on his face. He says, words, words, words. You have to go beyond the words. So Ravindra Swarup Prabhu said, you were speaking 2 hours and they were words and it was valid. And I am speaking, I am asking question and you are saying to go beyond the words. That's how Mayavadis are. They are expert in word jugglery. So Prabhupada said, nobody can become Supreme Lord. Prabhupada writes a very brilliant purport. Last paragraph says, the Supreme Lord is unlimitedly more powerful than any yogi. He is more learned than any jnani. He is more wealthy than any wealthy person. 16,108 palaces. Every wife, one palace. Nobody can afford it now. He's unlimitedly more beautiful than any beautiful living being, and he is unlimitedly more charitable than any philanthropist. That's how, out of his immense compassion, he has appeared in this world to bring all the living entities back to the spiritual world. So that is the mercy of the Lord. So Brahmaji, he sees and he becomes overwhelmed with joy, and he falls down and offers obeisances. So Prabhupada writes, this is the perfection. And he writes a very hope-giving line there. Following in the footsteps of Lord Brahma, any person, even up to this day, can attain the same perfection. That is the conviction of Prabhupada. Oh, ये तो भागवतम में लिखा है, बहुत पुरानी बात है. Even up to this day, we can achieve the same perfection if we follow in the footsteps. That's the faith we should have. That is the secret of learning the science, Prabhupada writes. Therefore, wherever you are, you just have faith and conviction that this process works. And Prabhupada has not come to cheat us. One of the Prabhupada disciples, he was just whole life he served, and he was on the deathbed. He was unconscious, semi-conscious. Suddenly he, woke up, sat on the bed and said, Prabhupada has not cheated us. That was the conviction we should have. Prabhupada has not come to cheat us. This process works even up to this day. We have this conviction. And then after this, Lord Brahma says, he speaks to Brahmaji. Lord speaks to Brahmaji, says, I am very pleased with you. And first of all, very interesting thing, Prabhupada writes, Lord shook hand with Brahmaji and he started speaking. So Lord, he gives 5 things to reclaim the fallen conditioned souls. He gives the facility for enjoyment. He gives distress when we are frustrated. And then when we are frustrated, then natural question comes, why did this happen to me? Then he gives scriptures. And then to make us understand the scriptures, he sends the devotees. Then he comes himself. That is how Lord is doing so many things. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, the glories of Brahma, Madhva, Parampara. And then Brahmaji, then Supreme Lord, he starts speaking. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Tvayaham Toshita Samyak Vedgarbha Sitrikshaya Chiram Bhritena Tapasa Stoshaha Kuta Yoginam. Oh Brahma, Vedgarbha. Another name of Brahmaji is Vedgarbha. Why Vedgarbha? He is impregnated with the Vedas. So, O Vedgarbha, I am very satisfied with you. Tvayaham Toshitaha. I am satisfied with you. Why? Chiram Dhritena Tapasa. You have performed such long austerity. We'll see what is this long austerity. I am not pleased if somebody is a pseudo mystic, Kuta Yogina. If somebody is making a show of devotion, I am not pleased by that. So when Lord is saying Chiram Bhritena Tapasa, how many years Brahmaji did tapasya? 1,000 celestial years. So one celestial year is 360 years of hours. So for 1000 means 1000 into 60. If you see the lifespan of Brahmaji, 311 trillion 40 billion years. This 3 lakh years are nothing, right? But still, Lord is saying you have done such a long penance. Chiram bhritena tapasa. Why? Because he knew the intent of Brahmaji. He knew that if required, he is ready to undergo this tapasya for a long, long time. The Lord is bhavagrahi. He sees the intention, reciprocates accordingly. So therefore, Lord is not pleased by false tapasya. If somebody is making a show, or itna tapasya, I'll do fasting on Ekadashi Nirjal. Why? Devotee should know that I am such an austere devotee. Lord is not pleased by show of devotion, as Raghunath Maharaj would tell, that we will fast and feast our ego. So Lord is not pleased by externals. Nalam dvijatvam devatvam rishitvam va suratmaja prinanayam kundasya na vrittam na bahukyata na danam na tapo na ijya na shaucham na vratanicha. All these things, they don't please Krishna. Priyate amalaya bhaktya. Only devotion pleases Krishna. So Prabhupada writes there are two types of austerities people do. One for self-gratification and one for self-realization. Self-gratification also, if you want to do sense-gratification, that also requires lots of tapasya. To enjoy also requires tapasya, material enjoyment. So you cannot escape enjoyment. So better, we cannot escape tapasya. So better do tapasya for self-realization. And then he says, okay, please ask for a benediction. Varam varaya bhadram te varesham abhivanchitam brahman shreya parishramah samad darshanavadhihi. Varam varaya bhadram te. Oh Brahmaji, I wish you good luck. You may ask me Varesham, because I am the giver of all the benedictions. Varesham. Whatever you want, you ask. Imagine Lord is standing right in front of him. Bolo, kya chahiye? Mango. All our list is ready. Wait kar rahe the. When Krishna? So, Lord is giving this blank check. Jo mangna hai mang lo. Brahman, you know that although he says, although I have already given you the best of the benediction. What? My darshan. That is the best benediction one can receive, but still if you have some other desire, you ask. So that is the thing Prabhupada writes. Ultimate realization is knowing and seeing the Lord face to face. After Lord speaks like this, he clarifies, you heard tapa, it's I who spoke. I spoke that tapa, when you are completely confused what to do. I spoke that. I gave the guidance. So whenever we are confused and bewildered in our practice of spiritual life, and if we are sincere, Krishna will give direction from within as Chaitya Guru. But that we will understand if we are sincere in our practices. When things are going on very normally, how serious and sincere we are. It's like Chaitanya Charaprabhu says, when you are doing the direct activities of Krishna consciousness, chanting, reading, hearing, if Krishna is in the foreground of our consciousness, then if we are doing the indirect activities of Krishna consciousness, like doing our job, maintaining family, doing so many things, Krishna will be in the background of our consciousness. Otherwise, if Krishna is not in the foreground, when we are doing the direct activities, Krishna will not be in the background when we are doing the indirect activities. He will be out of the ground. So we have to be really attentive in our daily practice of sadhana. Krishna notices that. He takes a note, okay, this person is really putting his heart. And when problem comes, he'll inspire from within. So that's why I say, I inspired you. I spoke that tapa because you are sincere and you are confused. So confusion, everybody will experience confusions in life. What I am doing? Kya ho raha hai? Is it the right time? I came little early in Krishna consciousness. So many problems are already there. So if we are serious and sincere, Krishna will inspire rightly. Just like yesterday morning, only one devotee was telling that he was talking to Radhanath Maharaj and he told Maharaj, अगर Krishna में नहीं आता इतना problem नहीं आता नहीं. Maharaj said you should be grateful to Krishna that he is giving you such realizations. These pains and troubles, they are opportunities to advance in Krishna consciousness. So take good advantage of them. Although, of course, it is easy to speak. Maharaj has done it, all things. So he can speak with realization. But for many of us, it is like, right now already we are, drowning in this ocean of problems. So Krishna inspires. He's telling, okay, I spoke that tapa, and because you did tapasya, penance is my heart and soul. Krishna likes to see his devotees struggling. If somebody is not struggling in Krishna consciousness, Krishna doesn't like that person. He doesn't like lazy, easygoing devotees. Mehnat karna padega. If you want to experience that rasa of bhakti, we have to undergo some tapasya. Prabhupada writes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that if someone sincerely wants to see the Lord, at the same time he has some material desires, Krishna says he is fool. I am intelligent. I will not give him sense gratification. Krishna kahe ama bhaje mage vishay sukh. Amrit chhadi vishya mage ei bada murkh. Ami vigyai murkha vishay ke na diba swacharnamrit diya vishay padaiva. Fool is asking for sense gratification. I will not give him sense gratification. Therefore, Prabhupada writes a very brilliant line in Nectar of Instruction. Krishna consciousness is so wonderful that one is forcibly dragged to success. Many of you must have seen that cartoon. Dragging a devotee and he's telling, leave me, both pain hai. Who started the process? Shuru you started it. So now you have to suffer. Suffer the pain of purification. It is not so easy. Purification is not a very pleasurable experience. It is very painful experience. So that's how we have to understand. And how Lord will pull a devotee towards him is inconceivable. It's like Narad Muni as a small child, he had only his mother. Emotional filmy story. Only mother and child. For child, mother is there. For mother, only child is there. Mother wants to give everything to the child, but still she's not able to do so. Kuch nahi hai, very gareeb hai. And then that mother also dies. This is the way Krishna drags a sincere person towards him. Tadahata bhaktanam shamabhipsitah anugraham manyamana pratishtham dishamuttaram. He gave up everything and went to north. So that is how Lord is telling, I spoke that path. I'll end with this story. When things are difficult in life, we cannot understand why life is. There was one devotee, Ram Lakshman Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada disciple. He was Muslim. He got initiated. He became complete devotee. And his family members, they were naturally very opposite, very against. After 1 year of getting initiated, he got a disease and he died. So all the devotees were confused, bewildered, why Krishna is doing like this. And the family members were confused. So devotees, they wrote to Prabhupada. So Prabhupada, he wrote 2 letters. One to devotees and other to the wife of this devotee. She was a Muslim person. So to devotees, he said, you should be rest assured that in the next lifetime, Krishna, he knew that in this lifetime, he will not be able to practice bhakti properly and peacefully. So Krishna has, lifted this devotee from this situation and he has put him in a situation where when he would open his eyes, he would see somebody with tilak and kanthi mala as his father. So you should be rest assured. And then he wrote to his wife. Prabhupada said, we are very sorry to hear about this news of departure of your husband, but we are always there for your help. If you like, you can just contact us and we'll be there to help you. So this lady, she had two options: to stay in the family or to move to the temple. She was so much touched by this letter of Prabhupada, she made a decision. She came to temple with her children. And then she started chanting, children became devotees. So that is how we may not see how Krishna is dragging a person close to him. Why some people are suffering in certain ways. It's like Brahmaji was bewildered. What to do now? Tapa, tapa. He had faith. So if we have faith in the words of Krishna and words of teachers and devotees, then Krishna will bring us close in all the difficult situations. So we'll stop here. We'll continue next time. Hare Krishna. So anybody has any questions? Oh, sorry, I didn't see. No, when Krishna appeared to him, that time Krishna, Lord Vishnu, he gave this Gopal Gayatri mantra. 1,000 years. So after 1,000 years, so 4,000 years, Bhagavatam doesn't mention that, what type of austerity he did, but for sure he practiced devotional service, bhakti yoga. What type of devotional service he was hearing, remembering, that is not explained. But in the later, things, verses, it is very clearly described that this is the process of bhakti yoga, because that is the answer which Shukdev Goswami is giving. By the process of bhakti yoga, Brahmaji became free of illusion. So definitely he must have performed some of the limbs of devotional service, like hearing or chanting or meditating on the form of the Lord. So that is what I can tell. So none of the acharyas is also right. What type of devotional service? Meditated on it. Meditated on the Supreme Lord's form or some of the pastimes. So the details are not described. Sorry? Yeah. Not devotees. Those living entities who are having a mentality of enjoyment separately from Krishna. She puts them in the more illusion because she's just facilitating the desires. The living entity desires, material nature sanctions, material nature facilitates, and Supreme Lord sanctions. So she is just facilitating our desires. If we desire to enjoy, she will facilitate our desire to enjoy. And if we want to come close to Krishna, she will facilitate that desire also. At the same time, she will test how eager we are to come close to Krishna. So material energy has two roles: the Vidya Shakti and Avidya Shakti. Generally we think material nature only has Avidya Shakti. Maya Devi has a Vidya Shakti also. Avidya Shakti covers the intelligence, but the Vidya Shakti helps one to realize the Atma. Realization of Bhagavan comes by Yoga Maya. Realization of Atma is facilitated by Mahamaya. Okay. So Yoga, so this material energy, Maya Devi, she has two roles. She gives knowledge also, she gives ignorance also. Depends on our intentions, our desires. So she'll give ignorance by covering our knowledge of the Supreme Lord. that I am not the part and parcel of Krishna. I want to enjoy separately. So that is the role which she's playing. And if she sees, okay, somebody wants to understand Krishna, she'll give the intelligence also. That is the Vidya potency of the Lord, of the Maya Devi. And by that Vidya potency, he will realize Atma. He will not realize Bhagavan. Atma Sakshatkar hoga. He will not realize Bhagavan. To realize Bhagavan, Yoga Maya. That is the work of Yoga Maya. Okay. Mahamaya is Durga Devi. Yoga Maya is Ladini. Radharani. When Gayatri is given, Brahman is given, there are various types of mantras. There are 3-4 mantras which are given. There is one Kam Gayatri, there is Gopal Gayatri, there is Brahma Gayatri, Guru Gayatri. So one of that is Gopal Gayatri. That was given to Brahmaji.
So it's not the same as what we do.
Same.
It's the same.
Yeah, same mantra. 18 lettered mantra, 18 alphabets. Same mantra was given. Maya Devi, yes, correct. We'll discuss in the next class. It will come. We are yet to complete this chapter. Only we could complete till 23rd verse. 46 verses are there in this chapter. No, Bhagavad Gita Chatushloki is different and this is different. Although the essence is the same, Sambandha, Videya and Prayojan, they come in the Bhagavad Gita Chatushloki also and here also. But here it is more detailed, described in great detail. Okay, so anybody online they have a question? Sorry? Anybody online, anybody has any questions, they can speak, we can hear you. I think there are no questions. Okay, so next Friday is Gaur Purnima. So can we have on Thursday our class? Huh? Wednesday, I have a class. I have a regular evening Chaitanya Charitamrita, 7 to 8. So it will not be possible for me. Okay, Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll stop the online recording. So we'll put when we have a next class. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.